Now, I haven't made a video for a little while, well, quite some time really, but I thought I'd just start with this because of the state of the UK market at the moment after the recent budget fiasco, and the prop up of the Bank of England is causing a very interesting situation at the moment. So time to maybe step back in and get involved again. I've scribbled out this little piece of paper a few months ago and sort of been as a paper trade, just keeping an eye on a number of shares that I'd taken out from my SharePad watch list, which I'm going to go through the whole lot in a little while. That I thought, these shares, I think, looking at the tracking of things, these are likely to fall over the next few months or so. I think there's quite a drop coming. I'm looking through the numbers here, and I might be patting myself on the back and blowing my own trumpet, but I was right. So, Pets at Home, a little bit of a drop there. S4 Capital fallen off a cliff. Melrose, DS Smith, slightly down, but it's not too bad. Taylor Wimpey, I think the construction industry and the housing market is in for the follow-on crash to the stock market one that's happening at the moment. And as the interest rates continue to rise, I think this is the next one that may well go. That's a personal opinion. But I think we can all see some writing on the wall there. So Persimmon House Builders, I actually bought some shares when they IPO'd many years ago. Galliford TRY, JD Sport, down. Royal Mail having strike action at the moment, down. Travis Perkins, construction industry, starting to slide. Kingfisher, DIY, they've been slightly sliding, but they've been trotting downwards a little bit. Dunelms, not doing too bad. I thought BP might be an interesting one to watch there, because I thought at some point the fuel situation, the gas and the rest is all going to be changing, and it's obviously on quite a high at the present time. But that's not going to last forever. So at some point that may come down to more of a realistic figure in the next sort of year or so. Whitbreads, down. Games Workshop, they're going for a nice high. They're over £10 a share, down at 5,795 at the moment. First Group, been very nice and steady there, so there's no falling there. Halfords, I thought with First Group, actually, the strike action on the railways was really going to start to have an effect on here, as I did possibly with the train line as well. They don't seem to be impacted anywhere near as hard as maybe I thought they might be. Halfords, that's had quite a big old slide in the last few months, and Domino's Pizza again has been sort of heading downwards too. So out of my list of things, I thought, I think some of these are going to fall. I think the strike weight was very, very high there. So I thought I'd have a little look at my YouTube channel in terms of the companies I was looking at over the last year or so. B&Q we've talked about. AB Foods has stayed fairly steady. Sainsbury's, as we're going to see very shortly, has been dropping very heavily. I mean, I thought anything under 180, it's a great buy really. It's down under 180. Oh my goodness. Rank again, it's down as a pretty big low. We'll see that shortly. Cake Box is down. Fundamentally, these are all quite good businesses, but I think a lot of things are really going on sale at the moment. Talking about going on sale, Purple Bricks. As we look through the chart of that one, I think that might well have bottomed out, but definitely it's sort of a bargain pricing at the moment. If you get the turnaround right, that might be quite good. Restaurant Group, we'll see very shortly, sliding heavily. Tattooed Chef, well, that's an American one. We know that's down about the $5 at the moment. That has come down so far. And I'll have to do another review of that one at some point soon. Fever Tree, down. Hostmore TGI Fridays. I'd hope the 45p mark was going to be the bottom, and we're sitting down there about the 16p a share at the moment. I think that's just so on sale. Cake Box. Cake Box is on sale, but still very fundamentally solid business. Costain, Greggs is starting to slide a bit. ITV definitely been sliding. Hotel Chocolate, the chocolate definitely melted there. Well down. Rolls-Royce engine maker, well down. Beyond Meat, that I think I looked on Friday. That was from the couple of dollars a share. Now that's just so low. It really is ridiculous. Victorian Plumbing, I think, has sort of bottomed out about the 37p mark. Up again, very much on sale at the moment. The Hut Group, again, hitting a low. Corsair is hitting a low. Jules, I thought Jules falling to about 47p was bad, but 40 currently down about the 7p mark. And there had been the little hopes recently that Next were going to be giving them some sort of platform as a leg up, but that seems to have fallen to the wayside. Hornby's back down where it was in the first place a few years ago. So, yeah, there we go. BT, even that one slid down. And Wetherspoons, the news in the last week or so, they're selling 30 pubs. Well, Tim Martin actually does buy and sell pubs very regularly. We'll typically sell probably 15 pubs in a year, but it doesn't stop him normally buying. This time I think the addition is to get the balance sheet right. They've sold a pub recent locally to me, which actually isn't on the 30 pub list. But the pub was probably at the end of its working life, needing a heavy refurb, and rather than spend a couple of £1 million refurbing it, it's easy to offload the pub and put the money into another one. Right, so let's have a look at the SharePad list. This is my SharePad watch list. This is 105 companies. We'll have a little quick flick through them, and you'll see the graph on the right-hand side is going to give you a very clear indication of what's been going on. AO Group. Ouch, look at that slide. This is a 3-year graph I'm using for them. It does give you a nice spread over a period of time. I think a lot of people watch things on a day-to-day basis or over a shorter period of time. But this kind of really shows you what's going on, not just for individual companies. It's just right across the market. But there are some exceptions in there, and I think that's really what it's a great time to be hunting for. I think the market generally may well slide over the next little while. I think we're going to see more of a drop and more pain for a lot of businesses. Before we start to come out on the other side. So if you're a long-term investor and buying, the buying season is coming up, certainly I think, over the next few months, and there's going to be some absolutely superb opportunities to pick up at bargain prices and for long-term investing in the shorter term. Because it doesn't make sense, does it? Long-term investing, but want to be buying over the next sort of few months or so when I think the sale's really on. ASOS. Ouch, 569, but look at that slide on that stock. Associated British Foods. Oh, painful, isn't it? Aston Martin. Well, Aston Martin's permanently always been in trouble. It's a kind of a fun business for wealthy people with money who've got a big hobby. Avon recently run an order, so they've picked up the share price recently, but that took a hammering a few months ago. B&M Value. Sliding quite heavily, and I think I'm seeing, as I went through the list a little earlier for myself, a lot of the supermarkets are taking a big hit at the moment as people are tightening up on their home shopping bills because the food prices have gone up and they're downgrading and cutting back, and it's hitting them quite hard because they are a low margin business. Babcock's been fairly steady, but they've been sort of deflated for such a long time. BAE went very high. They soared on the moment of the Ukraine war being announced, and the price just shot up. So they're going to be doing quite nicely at the moment. Balfour Beatties, again, it's one of those sort of building watches. Fundamentally it's a great business, but if they stop selling houses, it's going to be an interesting one. So that may be adding to the shortlist along with some of the other housing ones for the next little while. Barclays taking a bit of a knock and slide. I think the banks are also going to be hit very hard in the next period. If we get a serious financial crisis with the Bank of England, etc., they're all going to be toppling like dominoes. I will mention dominoes later too. Bar Group starting to fall. Soft drinks. Bellway Homes falling. Boohoo. Boohoo is Boohoo, definitely. We are all sobbing about Boohoo. I've got investment in Boohoo, as you all know. And oh my goodness, that price is just falling and falling. I think there may be some more downside, but I think when there is an upside in the long term, there's going to be a lovely big return in there. So it's fundamentally it's a good business. BP, as I mentioned earlier, I think off my little paper watch list. Have we seen the top? Is that going to continue any higher? Have we seen the peak, or is it going to start heading downwards? British Land, look at that drop. Oh my goodness. British Telecom. Oh, it's terrifying, isn't it? You see this. Cakebox are one of my favourites, really. Is one of those small businesses, or it is small, Fundamentally really sound, but look at that pricing dropping down. I wouldn't be surprised if we get back under the 100 mark in the next few months, and it's just seriously on sale. Centrica British Gas. I think maybe there's a bit of a turn for the downside already. For the gas prices maybe starting to head downwards. It's quite an interesting one though for the gas companies, because if people have trouble paying the bills, then their cash flows are going to be hit quite hard. So it could be a double-edged sword for them. Yes, very profitable time, but if people pay. Churchill China make commercial china really for the catering industry. And what they do tends to reflect what's going on in the wider catering market and the hospitality industry. Cineworld have announced Chapter 11 in the USA as a cinema business, and the price has dropped to absolute peanuts really, 2.9 pence a share. They said they're not going to go bankrupt in the UK, so the UK business will be staying. But at the present time, that's just hitting real lows. It went down to 1.9 pence a share as a real low before they announced that, well, we're not going to go completely bust in the UK. But with time we'll see, so we don't know. City Pub Group's always been sort of struggling a bit cash flow wise, but they're reflecting the rest of the market at the present time, back down again. Coca-Cola bottling, it's going to be a very stable business, that one, isn't it? Compass Group Catering are doing very well though. They're staying pretty high. Costain's back at about that 40p mark again. So, that's just sort of staying where he is. What's on this? Deliveroo started with a nice big high IPO, and as like my Hostmore one for TGI Fridays, just slid. But the look of the graph there is that bottoming out, and I think that looks to be pretty much the case. That might be the bottom for Deliveroo in terms of its price. Domino's Pizzas. I don't know why Domino's has fallen so heavily. It's fundamentally a good business as a franchise model, unless they've unset all the franchisees again. DS Smith Packaging plummeted. No other words for it, is there? Back down to the lows back from middle of 2020. Dunelm Group, it's a big houseware retailer, sort of struggling on the share price there. Yeah, the stores seem reasonably busy, which seems quite surprising. EasyJet, well, maybe it was the end of the holiday season, maybe it's been a bit lackluster, and it's right back down again. Fevertree Drinks, which I did a thing on, I think it's fundamentally a great little business. Fevertree really picked up in the last few years with the gin craze and all the different varieties of gin coming out, and they've really done quite well on the back of it, but the share price is showing quite a big drop off in sales, so I'll have to do a review on that one and see where they're up to now. First group is trains, so for Great Western Railway, Avanti, Lumo, Hull and Transpennine Express. The company's doing quite well, even though the strike action over the last few months of the summer probably having some effect on them. But fundamentally, the share price is sort of appearing to have been holding up for the best part. Seems to be heading back downwards again now. Fraser's Group, House of Fraser, seems to be doing quite well at the moment, but how long is that one going to last? Fuller Smith and Turner, as in the beer industry, the pubs again, it's really well down, isn't it? Galliford TOI, householding, I think we're going to be seeing a fall in there. That's my thumb in the air prediction. Games Workshop, falling. I don't know, has it come to its end of its popularity, or I don't know quite what's happening there, so we're going to have a little nose deeper into that. Glencore's done extremely well over the last little while. I had a broker punting Glencore at me and saying, yeah, buy, it's keep going up and up and up, but I think it may well have reached its peak. Maybe there is only one way down. Great Portland Estate, look at the drop in that's just falling away. I think obviously the properties are not taking the rentals in at the moment, and maybe too many people are still working from home, and it is hitting them. Greencore in food, again falling. Greggs is a company I really love. Greggs is a company I think most little UK retail investors love Greggs, and so does the city. But why the share price has just been falling away again? I think it's just reflecting what the rest of the market is doing. Obviously, Mr. Headman has stepped to one side, and things have sort of slid since. There may be some more downside on that. I mean, if you get the opportunity to pick up Greggs down at these kind of levels again, or possibly even lower, that'll be very, very happy days. It'll be lovely return on that because it's such a solid business. Halfords has been sliding very heavily in the last few months. Had a few little bad results, and it's not been doing so well at all. Hargreaves Lansdown. I had a short position on Hargreaves Lansdown. I wish I'd kept it a few months. I'd have made a killing with that. My goodness, they've dropped a long way. Oh well, we've got high fees, and that's what happens. Hollywood Bowl. I thought Hollywood would be doing a lot better coming out of COVID, which was they did appear to be doing. Things just took off to some extent, but they seem to have settled back down again. Hornby I mentioned a little earlier. More TGI Fridays. I think that's fundamentally a great business. I think the guy running that is fundamentally he's absolutely spot on. So to me, that's a personal opinion. That's a bargain price. Is it going to fall lower? It might. It might. Who knows? Hotel Chocolate. We talked about that a little earlier. Fallen off a cliff. But are we indicating here that we're hitting a bottom here at the 120 mark, or is there a little bit more to go in that? But fundamentally a good business. I do like the guy who runs it. I've seen some TV programs on him, and he does come over really well. Intercontinental Hotels are still doing quite well, really. So the hotel industry seems to be doing all right. IAG, British Airways, reflecting the EasyJet one, and anything in the travel industry is back down on the bottom again. ITM Power. This is one a broker was punting at me months ago. I was saying, no, it's a buy. And I looked on Simply Wall Street and saw what their fundamental value was and said, this is the biggest sell I'm going to see in the market really for ages. And it absolutely has plummeted. ITV, did a little feature on ITV. Again, sliding. I thought they might well be pulling back. Again, we're hitting the lows of 3 years ago. I don't know how much lower it's going to go, but we shall see. But sometimes, obviously, if you have a recession hitting and companies dry up the advertising, it's probably a time they should be spending a bit more on advertising, not actually cutting back. But they do cut back, and it means that businesses like ITV will suffer. And there's so much social media advertising nowadays. Is television advertising still paying in the same way as it did many years ago? JD Sports starting to fall. John Lang's have actually held up really well. They're up on a high. They've been staying on a high for quite a while. They're doing something right. But again, in that construction world, how long is that going to continue? Johnson Matthey's hitting a low. Jules, we mentioned earlier, I thought it was about 7p, 6.3 pence is making this today. That's just falling and falling. Are they going to stay in business? Are they going to go out of business? Don't know. Fashion retailing's been hit so hard recently, and obviously the next prop up didn't work out. Kia Construction back down where they were in the first place, or heading certainly down that way again. I mean, they had a bit of a share dilution about a year or so ago, and obviously the share number has not really held up in the meantime. So. Kingfishers, B&Q, and a few other diverse businesses. If you've seen my video on Kingfisher, fundamentally, what a really great business. But the share price is sliding, and if we get back down to the low levels of Roni Rona before they took off again, because that's the one thing that did do well in Roni Rona when they reopened the stores properly. There might be some nice more downside in that, and it might well be going back on sale again. Lloyds Bank, if the banks have problems with the Bank of England, we're going to see some bargain prices in the banks in the next coming months. That's my thoughts. Loungers is a small chain of sort of pub restauranty type places. Seem to be sort of holding up. Marks and Spencer's. What's happening here? Marks are back down on their low levels of 3 years ago. That company share pricing is very much on sale. We've got a 3 year low there at 85p. and 98 pence as of Friday night. And it's going down, isn't it? Marston's pubs heading the same way like Wetherspoons. They're really hitting the doldrums there. With them, it looks like there's more downside as well. ME Group, Melrose Industries back down on the lows again. Oh no. Mitchells and Butler, look at that drop. Oh my goodness. Again, we're back down near the 3-year low point. Mighty Group. Mighty's doing quite well because they've probably got quite a few contracts that are still running. It's quite a good cash flowing business. But maybe some of the contracts might dry up, so that may be reflecting why they're starting to fall away there. Mondi falling. Moonpig, ever since the IPO. Any one of my little lists with an IPO, they've all just they've just gradually cruised down over about an 18 months period. Again, hitting new lows there. Morrisons are doing quite well. Why is a big soar up on them? We look at the Tesco's and the Sainsbury's ones, and they're falling off a cliff. Morrisons is sitting pretty high, so that's quite a curious one to have a nose at. Natwest Group, I think we've talked about the banks generally. Next Group's taken a big drop on results, and things aren't going so well. This is Parsley Box. I've put some shares in Parsley Box as a disclosure there, and they haven't done well. It's not been a good pick. I thought 45p. Well, that's a good price for that. That's come down a long way. I'll step in there, and then 20 pence. Yeah, that's a great price. I'll buy some more, and then we are at 9.5. It's not been doing so well. Oh well, we don't get everything right, and I'm quite open on that. Paypoint staying nice and consistent. Persimmon, look at the drop. Oh my goodness, we're talking housing market there. Pets at Home, falling. Podpoint, electric point charging for electric cars, falling. Premier Foods, starting to nose downwards. Purple Bricks, I think we're looking at the graph there and saying, well, yeah, I think maybe we're hitting a low point with Purple Bricks. Can it go any lower? Well, this market, who knows, but it is looking quite an attractive price. Rank Organisation, that's lower than a 3-year low. What's going on? What is going on? Restaurant Group, Rentokil. My apologies, Restaurant Group's coming up next. Rentokil, that one sort of sliding and going. But Restaurant Group, oh, look at that, 29.5 pence. Yeah. Revolution Bars, down. Rio Tinto Zinc, it's a volatile market, but the metals market has been doing relatively well in the last little while, but I don't know how long that's going to hold. Rolls-Royce, talked about a little earlier at 70p a share. Falling. Royal Mail Group, talked about earlier with strike action going on, falling. S4 Capital, one of the fellow YouTubers' absolute darling stocks. Look at the slide. My goodness. Sainsbury's, I do like Sainsbury's as a business and a company. I worked for them. My first little job was Sainsbury's, and I've been back to a little bit of work for them quite a few years ago now. But fundamentally a well-run business. But look at the share price. We're back down below the 3-year lows here. Shell up where BP is, up on high. We don't know how long this is going to last, but when the music stops, I think there's a big short position coming in there somewhere. Shepherd Neame reflecting the rest of the pub trade. Down. Smith and Nephew. Look at the low. That's below the 3-year low by a long way. Things are not going well. SSP, who do catering on the trains and the stations and things. Yeah, it's sort of trotting downwards, but they've not been obviously doing too well. Tate and Lyle, who don't make sugar things anymore. It's my little video a while back pointed out. But the price is dropping. It's sliding. It's the whole market, isn't it? Look at this. Taylor Wimpey, house building. Ooh, fall. Ted Baker's probably sitting on the low, and yeah, I mean, okay, you can go back down to the 65p mark probably, but it's there was hopes of takeover a little while back and being bought out, but I think that's either ongoing or not going to go through. Tesco's, look at the drop, like the Sainsbury's one. Oh my goodness, the supermarket market is really having a tough time at the moment. THG mentioned earlier that may be, I don't dare I say it, be the low. I don't think I could say that in the current market, and they wouldn't say anything at the moment. Tortilla Mexican Grill, it's quite interesting when it got down to the 120 mark, and I thought, maybe it was the time to step in, and then it's risen up again. I think, personally, I think it's a great business model, because the units they're producing the Mexican food in, it's all kind of a cook, chill, reheat kind of job, so it's really quite simple with a mass production kitchen producing everything. Fundamentally a very good little business. So a bit like my Hostmore one, I think it's certainly sitting quite heavily on the watch list. But if it gets to the right pricing, I think it's a serious buy for me anyway. Obviously, you do what you want to do. Trainline, I thought they were going to be hit with the train strikes with the ticket sales. They're purely a ticket sale retailer for the train industry. But yeah, it's sort of holding its ground. Travis Perkins. Ooh, anything construction wise, look at the drops coming in. TUI, a bit like British Airways and EasyJet. Yeah, it's not been a good summer, is it? Not for them anyway. Unilever's such a massive business. They want to go very much more green in their things, so they seem to be sort of doing okay and holding up at the moment. But if you're looking at what's happening with the supermarkets, obviously they're dependent on what the supermarket retailers are doing, so we may well see something happening there. Various Eateries is a restaurant chain. I've been sliding. I think I've been sitting watching that, waiting. It's a small business and waiting for it to hit the right price. That might be an interesting one. Victorian Plumbing, I do have a holding in this, and I again quite admire the guy who's running this. He started from a shed in his garden and has built up a really, really quite a good business. But again, with the IPO thing, things have just slid. So whether 36 pence is pretty near the bottom, don't know. But fundamentally, it's a good business and a very clever guy behind it. Vodafone falling. Look at that, dropping down to near the 3-year lows again. Nearly at the bottom, guys. Here we go. Wetherspoons, again, a company I know very well. We haven't seen a share price that low for such a long time. It's such a tight margin business, Wetherspoons, and although Tim Martin is selling off pubs and probably trying to level up the debt and improve the cash flow a bit, as a business, personally, if I was running Wetherspoons, I'd be saying, look, guys, you need to put the prices up a bit, increase the margins, and okay, your sales might drop a bit, but at least it's you got the pound notes coming in the till, really, and lose the any unprofitable pubs, get rid, slimline the business a bit, and then rebuild again in the next few years. But it really means is Wetherspoons is coming down. I don't know quite where the bottom is going to be, but long term, fundamentally, it's a great business. W8 Smiths. I've kind of put Smiths and Greggs for some reason because I bought shares in them at the same time. I hold shares position at the present in either of them because I'm waiting for the prices to come back down to the really nice low points again. I think they may be sinking in the right direction. Well, as far as I'm concerned, for it as a long-term investor. Whitbreads, same as the pubs groups, but this is pubs and hotels, and a big business, massive business, but the share price is sliding. It's reflecting what's going on in the market generally. And finally, Young's, again, brewery trade, falling off a cliff. So obviously the sales ain't going that well. So really, I thought it was just nice to have a little update through my watch list and what's happening in the market generally. You do you at the end of the day and make your own decisions. I think we're going to see more downside over the next few months. If you're a long-term investor, I'll be stockpiling the cash to one side to sit and buy and pick up some bargains and tuck them away for the next 10 years or so till things go back up to a nice high and make an absolutely horrendously huge return. This and the next coming months, I think it's going to be the best opportunity many people will see in their lifetimes. So on that note, put your comments in the comment box below. Love to hear what you're thinking about things, what you're looking at, what you're watching, and we'll catch up with you again soon.